Hello ladies and gents! I hope you did like yesterday's box tank compilation narrated by none other than the Heavy from TF2. I certainly had a lot of fun making it. Today though, we are going to have some fun a little bit different way, hopefully also showing you some nifty little tricks in the process. Now I'm quite sure that for some of you this will be nothing new, but I think especially for the newer players this could come in really handy, so here we go. Today we will have a look at specifically 3 little tricks, namely, how can you be more accurate when firing on the move, how to double bush and why it is so useful, and finally, when to face hug and when is it a really bad idea. So, let's jump straight into this. Auto aim, aka right-clicking the target, it's really a strange beast, isn't it? While it can be really useful while you are doing a drive-by, for example, and focusing on your driving rather than your shooting, it can also very often backfire. As it's aiming at the center mass of the enemy, if you are trying to circle strafe a Soviet or Chinese heavy, for example, it will just keep donking your shots into the very tough and or very well-angled side armor, making you look like an absolute donkey. Now this very first trick is all about firing on the move while using auto aim. How annoying is it when you jump on someone in your light tank, for example, and you just keep on missing every other shot you take? This is especially true when you are engaging moving targets while being on the move yourself as well. Now the trick that you can use here is actually quite simple. Just slow down. Now I don't mean to stop, that would be suicidal. If, however, you only take away your finger from the forward or W key for just a second, you will notice that your reticle has suddenly shrunk to a significantly smaller size, and your shots will land much more on target. And the best thing is, after this super quick break in the acceleration, now you can keep on driving around with the improved accuracy, shredding up the enemy a lot more effectively. The second little trick is all about double bushing things, which can be especially handy if you have trouble making your bushes work, aka firing from concealment without being detected. Now if you are not familiar with how bushes work in general, I highly suggest checking out my Tank Driving 101 video, link in the description below, where I have a handy little in-game presentation on the basic mechanics. But back to our topic. Do you have trouble remaining undetected even when using concealment? If the problem is not getting spotted from your flanks, then the solution is really simple. Double the concealment between yourself and your target. Now remember, the bush itself can be anywhere between you and what you are shooting at, so you don't need to look for locations with 2 or more bushes right next to each other. A really useful tactic at shooting moving targets, for example, is to time your shots when they are behind trees or bushes to mask your shots. If nobody else can spot you, you don't even have to pull back behind your own bush to remain undetected. But let me show you exactly how this works. So in the first clip, I'm in concealment but too close to the bush itself to remain hidden while firing. Sometimes you just won't have the luxury to pull back enough before taking your shot. Maybe you don't have the gun depression anymore then, or maybe there just simply isn't enough space. Well, here is a very simple solution. Wait until the target is behind concealment and bang! Now you can fire without getting spotted. Now be mindful that anybody else not behind concealment will still spot you if you fire in this position, but otherwise it's a great tool to use to be extra sneaky. And last but not least, when to face hug and when it's a really bad idea. Now if you don't know, face hugging the enemy is basically to drive up right in their face, limiting their possibilities as to where they can shoot you. Typically this is a really good idea if you have a really strong turret and the enemy isn't tall enough so they can shoot down on your upper plate. Sometimes it's the dumbest thing, however, typically in the following 2 situations. Number 1. If your turret has a huge weak spot, typically your commander's hatch, that you are literally sticking in the enemy's face, making it almost impossible for them to miss. The same applies as well if you are not as resilient as you thought you were. For example, a nicely rounded IS-3 turret in your face will just simply laugh at heat shells. A very flat Tiger II turret, however, won't. And secondly, be also mindful to allow your team to support you if you need it. Otherwise, you might end up showing them this. Yep, your fat ass shields the enemy perfectly from incoming fire, which is not really what you want now, is it? Don't do this, people, or you help the enemy team more than your own. Now that said, you can actually sometimes turn the situation around in your own favor, and you can basically use this little trick to lure the enemy into your team's line of fire. People tend to tunnel vision like a boss in these situations, so once you are face to face with them, try to reverse a little bit to see if they follow you. Alright, these were then a few handy tricks for you. I hope they will help you out, or maybe you are already using them for a long time. Be as it may, let us know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, thanks a lot for considering giving this a like or sharing it. Now going forward, tomorrow we will be acing the Tier 8 British medium, the Centurion Mark I together, and of course there will be also an article on the Wartime blog about the history of this legendary tank. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again in one of the next videos.